Hi everyone, just a relatively short one today. Unfortunately, we all forgot to introduce ourselves at the start of the podcast, so I'm doing that now for you. So, the person who's glaring at me because I don't know how anything works is Rin. His pronouns are he and him, and he is the only one of us who knows how planes work. So he's going to look after the technological side of today's topic. And the person sipping coffee over at that nice desk is Aki. Their pronouns are they and them, and it's their day off today, so they're just along for the ride. And I'm Zen. My pronouns are he, or she, or they. The only thing even remotely engineering-related thing that I know about is magnets, so basically I'll take care of the humanities side of today's episode, so I'll tell you about the people on the plane and stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for being so patient. Let's get into today's podcast. It is 10 a.m. I'm ready to talk about engineering.
It's not 10 a.m. It's 10:19.
It's 10:19. I'm ready to talk about engineering. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Shit, I'm not watching. Wait, give me a minute. Okay, I can see it now. Yeah.
By the way,
wait,
Rin,
no, shit. Wait.
Welcome to Wakatta Furi, a podcast where we are very organised.
It's all very normal until I open up your stream on Discord and then it fucks up. I need to mute it.
Yeah, we may have to mute me.
And if only this worked in real life.
The thing from last time. So the thing from last time is you need to turn off the sound from Discord completely.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Worked out. Yeah.
I think. Wait, is it working now?
Hello.
Aki, do you know a good psychiatric hospital?
Psychiatric hospital?
I'm trying to help you. I was making the testing 1, 2, 3 noises.
I thought you were trying to communicate with alien life.
All right, are we beginning?
All right, okay. Let's pass the pod. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello. Welcome to Wakatta Furi, a podcast where we pretend to know things about Japan. And today we have a special episode because it is a collaboration between myself and drumroll please. Hey, I can't leave me to do this on my own. I don't know how engineering works. I don't know how planes work. I don't know how doors work. I don't know how anything works. I need an adult, please. Who's helping me with this episode?
How do you get out of your room then?
Well, my door doesn't actually roll very well. I'm not kidding. It literally gets stuck, and the top part of it falls off. Yeah, no. Listen, I'm not that handy sometimes, as Rin can attest to. Rin, are you doing the plane thing today? Are we talking about planes?
I'm just a consultant. I'm not a collaborator. Just do your thing, and when you inevitably run out of brain power, just hit me up.
All right then. Okay, sounds like it'll be mostly me today, but I have a backup. I have my co-pilot here today, Rin. Speaking of co-pilot, I actually did get on a plane recently. And from Haneda to Fukuoka, and I went and I annoyed Rin. And what did we do? We went to Okonomiyaki.
Oh yeah, I went there again yesterday. It was good.
But the funny thing is, so the old lady who was working there, she's like, "Oh, musuko-san desu ka?" and pointing at Rin. So apparently,
this is so bizarre.
She was out of it that day. I mean, I talked to her again yesterday, and she was still a bit hazy upstairs, and they had her husband was talking to us more. I was with another friend, and what do you call it? And they had a third sort of staffer there, and she was very nice and just came out just bringing us homemade onigiri and stuff.
Oh,
just so nice.
So sweet. Last time they gave you a plant. Oh, by the way,
got a lettuce.
Musuko-san desu ka is the lady asked me if Rin was my son, which psychic damage. But I mean, it's not okay. Look, apparently, I look old enough to not only have him as my son, he is an adult man. I'm old enough to have an adult man as my child. So there you go. Well.
I mean, she's about 5 generations older than you. I think her sense of she can't really tell.
Anyway, we had a good time. I annoyed you a lot.
Yeah.
you didn't really annoy me much, other than you didn't let me clean your room, which was...
Yeah.
I'm somehow slightly disappointed, but also kind of expected that.
And then I flew back, and that was my golden week. How was your golden week, Aki?
I got a lot of things done, and I had some time to chill as well. So my golden week has been pretty good, all things considered.
Oh.
I went to an aquarium. The aquarium is really nice.
Oh, I think I saw that on your Instagram.
Which
Oh.
aquarium?
Yokohama, Hakijima.
Oh, what? You went to Yokohama?
Yeah, I went to Yokohama.
I've never been to
Like
Yokohama.
the trains are all different at Yokohama.
Yeah.
How are they different? Are they like monorails? Like what
They
happened
just
to
look
them?
different. They're just different models of trains.
Oh.
But like, it's so close to Tokyo. You imagine they'd be similar, but no, like the models like really different.
It's still like an enormous
Wild.
city. Like, I think it has its own culture.
Yeah, I think it definitely has. It has its own vibe. Like it feels very different from Tokyo.
Vibes.
Like I've never had so much like affinity for a city that I've never actually visited. Like other than like before
Really?
I went to Tokyo, I guess. Like I really want to go to Yokohama. It's
Really?
right there. Why have I not gone? Anyway,
Yeah, but like, there's so many other cities around here that like fit that bill.
this is true. This is true. There are a lot of good places to go here.
That I would argue have a bit more culture.
Then Yokohama, I'll see you out back. I'll fight you. I'll fight you with like Chinese food.
Nagasaki.
True.
There can
But
be
that's
two
also
places
Chinese
with good
food.
Chinese food. There can be two places.
There can only be one, and it has to be the one that's closer to me. I have to have like geographical superiority.
Mm.
That's how wars start.
Oh no! Wow, the great culinary war of Yokohama and Nagasaki for some reason.
Yeah, right.
So they found a piece of a Gundam.
What the
They
fuck
found
are you on about?
Piece of a Gundam.
Like I was trying to find a picture for this episode, and I was like, I don't want anything too horrible. But then I looked at it, and it reminded me of the Gundam, like the giant one at Odaiba, which I'm not sure if it's still there. It looked like with the fan and like
What?
the big metal. Have you not been to that one?
I mean, no. I hope I'm not mistaken in saying that's a piece of a jet engine.
I mean, well,
I think
to
it's
you,
a jet turbine, yes.
maybe to you too, big-brained
I mean,
people, it looks
the
like a jet
turbine-
turbine.
like,
But to
it's
me,
freaking
it looks
fan
like
blades.
a Gundam.
What?
Well, Gundams have those on them sometimes, I think.
I think so. I think you're right as well. I think they have those on the shoulders sometimes.
Yeah, that's where I've seen it. Yes, yeah. See, thank you. All right. We've already.
I dare say anything remotely scientifically accurate looking on a Gundam is modeled after something that's already been built in science, such as a plane.
Yeah,
It's possible.
okay.
Very possible.
Well, I'm willing to be convinced that this is a plane part, but if it's a plane, it's not supposed to look like that.
No, it's a bit worse for wear.
Yeah,
A
it's
bit.
seen better days.
That's gonna be $1,000 in the shop, bro.
a grand?
Yeah,
I
grand.
want a plane.
Easy grand.
It's cheaper to repair than my car. Today we're going to be talking about a plane that has had one very, very bad day. And the people inside the plane also had a very, very bad day. This is, JAL123 is the it's the deadliest single aircraft crash in human history to date at time
Yeah.
of recording. Please don't get any ideas to overtake
Don't give
this
the
one.
world any other ideas.
No, I'm not going to give 2022 or 2023 or 2024 ideas because this is really dark. Only watch this if you're feeling all right because it gets it's not good stuff, but it is culturally relevant. It's like a big part of like aviation history in Japan, and someone culturally relevant was on the plane, and I thought it would be nice to talk about the plane.
Before you go any further,
Yes.
sorry, just a bit of context. You said the deadliest single aircraft crash in history. It's the second deadliest crash overall in history. The first one's when two planes collided on a runway in Tenerife. Just so you know.
Ooh. Oh, thank you for that
So
background
it's
knowledge.
two planes. Yeah,
Okay, that's how you get a higher number. I don't like that.
yeah. I
And
think
one
there's
more
also
plane.
one over like Kazakhstan. Like two planes just like fucking hit each other
Three
in midair or
planes?
some shit.
3 planes?
6
Yeah,
planes?
nah.
8 planes? All the
12
planes?
Just all the planes meet at one point over the Pacific.
The great convention of the planes.
We're going to go for a Guinness World Record. Okay. Anyway, let's look at our plane today. So this is our boy. His name is Boeing 747-SR46. This picture was taken at Haneda Airport, which is one of Tokyo's biggest airports, and it's the oldest big functioning airport in Tokyo, I believe. It's the one that I flew out of the other day, actually, for Golden Week. Yay! So this photo was taken in April 1984. So we're going to the 80s today. And it was taken by some plane nerd called Kjell Nielsen. Thank you, Nielsen. I need to ask you both. What do you think of the plane? What vibe check?
What do you think of it? It's clearly a 747.
Pretty standard.
Yes, we've established that it's a 747. But would you like to perform some analysis of the plane?
Do you mean from what I know about this specific plane, or just from the look of it?
You know what? I asked the wrong person. Aki, vibe check on the plane. Go.
It's very plain.
Ah!
I have no opinions on planes. I'm sorry.
You have no opinions on planes?
It's
None?
It looks like a standard regular plane that flies, that's meant to carry passengers. It looks like any other plane I've ever gotten on.
This could fit probably
you're not
520 people.
Wow, that's a very specific number there.
It's almost the correct number too. I was gonna say I like that it has 2 stories. I've never been on a plane that has 2.
A 747.
Maybe I have been on one. I don't know. I have no memory of seeing actually being on a plane, boarding a plane that has a second story. It's
most
wow, you got your
planes have
friend's
second
house and you got a
stories.
staircase. Really? What?
No,
It's just that not for passengers, but
yeah,
for other
things. You have the cargo below the main sort of seating area.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't count.
But the 747
this is cool.
is generally the top row there. That's sort of goes along a third of the plane or whatever. Is generally first class or business class.
Oh, that's so cool! Is it the ones where they have the lounges and then they can drink in the sky? And then when it's turbulent, they can all fall down onto each other in fancy seats.
I think that's more like the A380 has the stand up bar and stuff.
Okay.
In on the Emirates flights and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure about the 747. Might not be enough room, but it is luxurious at least.
Right. Yeah, so it looks fancy. So the company, as you may have noticed, the company that flies it is Japan Space Air Space Lines, also known as JAL. In Japanese, they also call it Nikko, which is short for Nihon Koku Kabushiki Gaisha. And so it was established in 1951. So it was pretty, it's very, very early. And the flights started in 1953. So we're talking about the 80s. So the airline has been around for about 30 years at the time in its history that we are going to be discussing today. It's currently the second largest airline in Japan, and it's Japan's flag carrier. Is that why it has the flag on it? What is a flag carrier?
Isn't it national?
It's like Qantas for Australia.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally called Japan Airlines. It's not partially government owned.
Yeah, it's how Singapore is the Singapore Airlines.
Oh yeah, Singapore Airlines. Yeah. All right, so it's like the national airline. So it's I mean, usually the national airline is kind of expensive and fancy. So I think this is kind of like that as well, especially based on who was on the plane. So yeah, JAL in 1955, they only had 314 revenue passenger kilometers in millions. Anyway, so they had a number that was only 314 in 1955, but in 1985, they had not 314, but 37,000. Whoa! Huge growth! They were doing a lot of flights, I guess.
Wow.
By the way, a fun fact for you is you see that on the back of the plane, there is a crane, the crane logo. That was designed by a dude called Jerry Huff.
Jerry Huff.
Huff.
The traditional Japanese Huff clan.
um, like just some like random guy. I think he's like probably a marketing guy from the US, but like he said he was inspired by Japanese kamon. You know, like
That makes sense. Yeah, it looks very common.
yeah. Come on, design me a crane.
Come on.
What's a kamon?
It's an emblem.
It's a coat of arms.
It's a family crest, basically. And so, like, they're all kind of, like, cool and stylistic. And so he's like, he looked at a couple of those and he's like, yeah, I can do that with a crane. Because cranes fly high in the air. They mate for life. They're very loyal. And they fly for a long time. And they fly safely. Anyway.
I prefer an albatross.
Most of Japan Airlines' planes have been Boeing ones. So the 747 was introduced to Japan Airlines in 1970, and they kept like getting upgraded models, adding to them until the early 1990s. And now we finally get to the question, Rin, what the frick is a Boeing 747?
What do you fucking think?
It's a big plane?
It's a big plane. It's the first jumbo jet. It's like the iconic jumbo jet introduced in, I think, the 60s. So it's a wide-body airplane, has like, 10 seats across? Very long. It's got the second story at the front. I think it's made so they could like open the cone and then put like cargo in the front once it's done with its sort of service life as a passenger aircraft. It's pretty well designed all around.
I've seen that. They like chomp on all the cargo. Like goes like that.
Yeah, kind of. Either way, pretty revolutionary. It has been involved in a lot of accidents, but most of them aren't to do with the design. It's just because there were so many of them. And it was like sort of an era where aircraft safety hasn't really caught up to the amount of flights that were going. And also another note, this specific plane is a 747SR, it's a short range. So because this flight was going from, Tokyo to Osaka, it's a short range one. It's like the same way now they have the Dreamliner is like the 737-800 like extended range and the long range and stuff like that. They're made for like much more fuel capacity, much more efficient, etc. These ones are made to have less fuel, so it's like 80% the amount of regular fuel and much stronger like landing gear and like plating and stuff like that because they have a lot more wear on the landing gear because they're spending literally less time in the air and more time on the ground.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it's a slightly upgraded version specifically for the Japanese market. Yeah, just so you know.
All right, it's a special boy.
Yeah.
Now, I did some research, and it says that the 747 is no longer production after 2022. This is the last year that they were ever going to make one, unless they do retro planes in the future, which would be a weird thing to do.
Why?
In the distant future, maybe.
They make old planes for fun.
Like 25, 50 something, maybe.
Yeah, like Star Trek future. Like they just recreationally fly 747s as like a historical, like LARPing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here we've got some women. They are very much from the 80s, as you can see. This is taken directly from a JAL commercial that I found, where they say "genki yoku," energetically, with good spirit. And so these like ladies, they walk up and down the aisles wearing their uniforms and looking enthusiastically at the camera. So anyway, so these are the flight attendants who were on the JAL flights at this time. What do you know about like working as a flight attendant? What do you think it would have been like for these women?
Naki.
Working as a flight attendant has never been an easy job, I feel.
Yeah, but despite that, it seems to have like, especially in Japan, like this roman, like lots of young girls. Even recently, I remember an episode of Fukuoka, which like played on this stereotype, which is like, I want to grow up and be a flight attendant. Like that's what I want to do. It's like a high profile job that women can have, or that women could have in like the second half of the 20th century, right?
Mm-hmm, definitely. I think
lots of people seem to want to be one.
There's a thing in Singapore as well, so it's not unfamiliar to me.
Is that Aki typing or Rin?
That was me typing.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. I just finished editing, and I was just like, oh, I've had to.
You don't have to be so like komakai with it. Like if there's noise, there's noise.
Yeah, so having a mental breakdown over someone typing.
It's fine.
If I hear the space bar one
Is that
more
the
time,
smell of a keyboard?
if I even hear someone mention the word keyboard in my presence, I will go full Donkey Kong. But
Typewriter.
no, that's close enough. So apparently, like back in the day, in fact, even now, you have to be a certain height to be like a flight attendant. So, like,
Yes.
nowadays, you have to be 160 centimeters or taller, so I get to be a flight attendant, but I won't
because
be.
you can't reach the baggage over otherwise.
Yeah, I thought it was like because you needed to be cool and tall and like prestige associated
As
with
if, for fuck's sake.
being tall. But no, yeah, I realized later, like after thinking about it for 10 seconds, that you just need to be able to reach the baggage.
You also need people to be able to see your instructions.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're waving for emergency exits and shit, like and people can't see you, you're going to kill people.
That's kind of funny thought.
Hopefully, usually you're not supposed to use the emergency exits. Like usually most flights, you actually don't need the emergency exit. So, but still, yeah, no, it is important. I agree.
What are you on about?
Hey, when was the last time
That's
you
why
used
it's called an
emergency exit in a
emergency
flight?
exit.
See,
What are you?
I'm right.
Are you saying you don't need them because you never use them?
I mean, like,
Are you the
I've
kind of
never
person who
used
doesn't
one.
wear seatbelts in a car?
I wear seatbelts in the car because
Hey, you're more
'cause they're
statistically
safe.
likely to die on the way to collect your lottery ticket than you are on a plane. Therefore, I'm not going to put on my seatbelt. I'm not going to do anything.
But planes are different because you stand up and walk around in planes, right? Like it's
No.
different. It's completely different. Yeah.
You're supposed to sit
different.
down with your seatbelt on when you're not going to the toilet or anything.
Oh, yeah,
Unless
all
you're
right.
first class and you're like drinking with your other cool rich.
At the bar.
Yeah.
Ugh. But anyway, so I agree with Aki. This would probably be a pretty rubbish job. Not only do you have to deal with rich people, especially in like not nowadays, back when flying was more expensive, you would have to deal with rich people, which like 0 out of 10. And also, planes used to be really loud and unpleasant. And also, you used to be able to smoke on planes, which is like, no, stupidest thing.
That's true, but is it not a well-known fact now that because people did smoke on planes, then the air circulation was much faster and much more efficient than that nowadays? That's why nowadays they don't have to recycle it as much or as fast. I mean, this is pre-COVID. I don't know about now.
It's like, pick your poison. Do you want to get like secondhand smoke, or do you want to have stagnant air?
Basically, yeah. You'd have like slightly smoky but a lot of fresh air versus like not smoky but very stale hot air.
Didn't they have like smoking cabins?
No.
Oh,
I mean, not now, I don't think.
not anymore. But I think was there not one point of time where there were?
There used to be smoking sections and non-smoking sections, but as you can guess, like, it makes no difference. Like, the smoking section, like, you still end up smelling it. Like, it's apparently.
Yeah.
At least that's what my parents told me when they visited Europe in the 80s. Anyway,
Interesting.
this ticket is for the flight 121 from Tokyo to Osaka, specifically from Haneda Airport in Tokyo to Itami Airport in Osaka, which used to be the largest airport, but now Kansai International Airport has overtaken it, which opened in 1994, I believe. So the flight we're talking about today is the 1985 August 12th flight. So it's not this one. This is the one that's one before it. This person who owns this ticket was apparently supposed to get on flight 123, but turned up at the airport early and said, hey, I don't want to wait. Like, can I be swapped to an earlier flight? Apparently some
That's
like
the thing you could do.
it's a thing you can do. And so this is like some very, very lucky calligrapher from Osaka, apparently. So with this flight, lots of people have stories like, oh, I was supposed to be on the doomed plane. If I had have got a flight like 2 hours earlier, I would have been dead. Of which only some of these stories are true. I feel like with 9/11, lots of people say that as well. It's like,
yeah,
probably more people claim to have supposed to have been on the flight than there foreseeably could have been people on the flight.
Yeah, this could be very incorrect, but I'm pretty sure it's like well over 10,000 people that have claimed to have like nearly gotten on that plane.
Really?
It's a ridiculous
10,000.
amount of people.
And they made their claims publicly enough for it to be tallied. That's quite funny.
Yeah. Just the number of people who like want to lie about this one specific thing just for clout.
Like, who
I
gives
don't
a
get
shit?
Like, I totally would have died there.
10,000 people obviously do. But anyway, so this route, so what kind of people would you expect to see on a route between Tokyo and Osaka on like the flag carrier?
Businessmen doing business.
Business people.
So usually this flight is full of business people, but not this time.
Why not?
Because this was in August. This is on the 12th of August, right? So what do you know
Obon.
about like... Yes, it's Obon. Obon, for those who don't know, can anyone explain it?
No, you can do it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
For those who don't know, Obon is it's like a traditional Buddhist, originally Buddhist holiday
Yeah.
where you, well, for our purposes, basically people go home to their families in the summer, and so this was right at the start of Obon, so people were
Wait, you're not
going
going to explain
home
why?
to their families for the summer. If I explain Obon, we're going to be here for 10 hours.
You could summarize it.
They don't just go home because they feel like this salmon-esque urge.
They go home because they want to go home. No,
Lay
Obon
the
is
eggs.
because there's a belief that your ancestors, they come back to visit the world of the living in mid-August, and so you go home and you pay your respects like to your grave at home. Yeah, and so
It's
that's why
a
you go
holiday
home.
where you go back home to pay respects to your ancestors.
Yes, that's the one. Yes.
Imagine coming back to
And
life for like a few days and it's like 35 degrees with 80% humidity.
It's like,
Yeah.
thank God I'm dead, so I don't have to deal with this humidity.
It's
Oh
going
my
back to
God.
hell where it's nice and cool.
yeah, honestly. Honestly, yeah. So usually this route was filled with business people, as you said. So one of the passengers on this flight, she was actually a flight attendant on her off hours. And so she was like, oh, this flight was actually it wasn't business people. It was actually lots of women and lots of families and lots of young people and kids. And so she was like, wow, it's like different to usual. And it's kind of nice. And there were also about, I think I counted like 20 foreigners or so, mostly from America, Hong Kong, India, and South Korea, and some other places. But yeah, mid-August in Japan, so people are going home for Obon. Can you think of any other reasons that you would go to... Like, some people weren't going home for Obon. Some people went to Tokyo, and then they actually were going home to Osaka. Can you think of any places in Tokyo they would want to go?
In August.
In August?
Comiket.
None of them
That's cool.
apparently said that they were going to Comiket, but I would believe it. No,
It hadn't started. Oh, had it started? Maybe it had.
so lots of the like teenagers and people in their 20s, they were actually going to Disneyland, and so they were on their way home from or on the way to Disneyland. And also, you won't believe this, you two. I've found a way to sneak Tsukuba into this
Fuck's sake.
presentation.
Amazing.
So, I kid you not, at least 10 of the people on this flight were going to or from little old sleepy Tsukuba because 1985 was when the Science World Fair was in
shit.
Tsukuba. Yeah. We had the Science World Fair, which I should tell you about some other time.
Interesting.
Yeah, so some kids they came to see it and they were going home or whatever. Yeah, so it was a much more lively flight than usual, according to the lady who we will talk about more later.
Also, just a
Yes.
fact, Comiket started in 1975.
What? Wow.
So there could have been people on their way
Oh.
back.
Hi, this is Zen in post-production. Unfortunately, Rin was correct. There was a person on the plane who was coming back from Summer Comiket, and she was an acclaimed doujin author who drew really pretty illustrations. Her name is Himoto Korin, I believe. Yeah, worth Googling. Back to the pod. I'd like to introduce you to this lad. I'm going to introduce you to two people. So, the first of which is this lad. His name is Sakamoto Kyu. His real name is Oshima Hisashi. He was an absurdly famous singer from the Showa period. He was 43 years old when he was on this flight. His grandfather, you won't believe, was from the town next to Tsukuba,
What is the Tsukuba propaganda here, man?
I don't listen. Tsukuba's just relevant. What can I
It's
say?
No.
I will make it relevant. His name Q was given to him because he was the youngest of 9 kids, and Hisashi was also written with the kanji for Q. So
wow.
yeah, he's baby. He released a single when he was 20, so he started music early. The single was released in 1961, and it was called "Ueomuite Aruko."
Oh, that dude.
Yeah, this is that guy. Yeah, where
I
have you
have
heard
no
that song,
idea.
man?
I've never heard that song before.
Because Zen never fucking shuts up.
Listen, I always sing it at karaoke. I love singing it. It was actually the second Japanese song that my first Japanese teacher taught us. Oh, well, second Japanese teacher
song,
technically.
First
Why are
Japanese
you,
teacher.
why are you
Listen.
learning songs in Japanese class?
Because it was, listen, I had so much fun. It was really, really fun. She would actually make sure that we learnt the songs. When we learnt Kaeru no Uta, which was the first song that teacher taught us, she would make us sing it in rounds. It was
Go learn grammar.
Wow.
I mean, I enjoyed it.
I mean, it's cute.
Yeah. This is my third Japanese song that I ever learned, basically. And I love it so much because it's really repetitive. It's easy to sing, but also it's a lovely song. The tune is really upbeat. It's like...
Okay, not needed.
Okay. But
Gotta get DMCA'd.
that's fine. My whistling is bad enough. But there's actually whistling in the song. It's a really happy, tune, but the lyrics are so sad. They're tragic. It's, look at the sky while you walk so that your tears can't flow down your cheeks.
That's not how gravity works.
No, that's if you're looking up, if you're facing your head towards the sky, then the tears they have to build up a little bit more before they fall down, right? So anyway, that's the idea behind it, and obviously people liked it because it turned up in Kohaku Utagassen, which is the New Year's music show that they do on the year of its release. Actually, it was the #1 top single in Japan and the US.
And the US. What?
And Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and Canada, and Norway.
Okay.
#1 top single. It was 2nd in Germany and 6th in the UK. Obviously, the Brits had something better to listen to at the time. So some dude went to Japan and took a copy of the single back to the UK, and then he must have gotten permission to re-record it with a band without the Japanese lyrics, and he sold it as the single Sukiyaki. Yes,
What a stupid
it
title.
is named after Japanese beef hot pot.
Okay. Sukiyaki is very tasty, though.
So I've heard.
You could get sukiyaki without the meat. To get nasai
Ooh.
sukiyaki.
No,
But
there's
that
no
would
point.
still be
Sukiyaki.
meat in the broth, never mind.
Why would you consider
Yeah,
even
that's true.
living at that point?
Man.
Anyway, they called it sukiyaki because Japanese stuff was fashionable overseas at the time, and they wanted something short and recognizably Japanese. So that's why they renamed Ueomuite Aruko as sukiyaki, apparently. Anyway, so this guy, Sakamoto Kyu, he was on the plane. His manager was on the plane. His family, pictured on the left, were fortunately not on the plane. But yeah, no, so he was a huge celebrity, 24 years on from his biggest hit. So he was like Osan by this point.
You mean irrelevant?
No, he was still doing stuff. Yeah, no, he was still doing stuff, I believe. The second of two people I would like to introduce you to is this woman. Her name is Ochiai Yumi. Should we call her Ochiai Yumi? I'll just call her Ochiai Yumi because that's her full name. So she was 26 when she was on the flight. This is the flight attendant lady. So she worked for JAL and she'd just gotten off a shift on the Sapporo to Tokyo route. So she'd flown back from Chitose Airport to Haneda, and she was she'd gotten changed into her civilian clothes and she was going home to her family in Osaka. She was recently married. Aww. And she was taking summer vacation, some time off work to spend with her husband.
That's
nice.
Rare, but alright.
Yeah, it must be a thing.
Time off work in Japan.
Sounds
To spend with your spouse, really?
Never. Not permitted. But no, it was permitted, and so, but she will be important to the rest of the story. So please remember the name Ochiai Yumi, 26-year-old flight attendant. So, okay, the plane lands at Haneda at 4:50. It just gotten back from Sapporo. So then it gets rebranded as its new flight, which is JAL123. So that flight took off at 6:12 p.m., which was 12 minutes behind schedule.
Oh dear.
Oh no, definitely.
It was supposed to land at Itami Airport in Osaka at 6:56 that same day.
Mm.
Everything was going smoothly, like just a normal flight, until the flight attendants started handing out Mickey Mouse toys to the kids on the flight.
What?
Where are you going with this?
No, I kid you not. No, I read the accounts of people on the flight, and they're like, the last thing that they like I think it was actually Ochiai Yumi. Like, the last thing that she says in her account, just before the bad things started happening, she remembers the attendants handing out Mickey Mouse toys to the kids.
Why are you speaking like this is causation?
I mean, can you prove that it's not?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, anyway, my conspiracy theory is that somehow the Mickey Mouse toys,
killed them all.
this is a Disney cover-up.
You're actually going to get sued.
Oh no! Have mercy, Mickey Mouse. Listen, I'm just trying to make a horrible situation less painful by making jokes about Disney. It gets me through. Yeah, so that's what it looked like from the window. This is from the same flight. And then there was a problem. Your plane's not supposed to look like this.
Yeah, the oxygen things are down.
Yeah. Have either of you ever seen the oxygen things being down?
No, because I've never been in a crash.
Yeah, me neither, actually. So what happened was, if you're sitting in the plane, you heard a big explosion, which was specifically described as being like, you know, in movies, how there's that pistol noise, like kind of high-pitched, like pew, like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was described as being like, but like really, really big noise. And then fun happens. The cabin is filled with white smoke.
Yeah.
And,
it's not smoke,
and
but okay.
Well, they said like some of it said kemuri and some of it said like, what's the other word?
It's vapor.
Oh, well, me being someone who doesn't know what things are, I would have said smoke because I don't know what things are. And the gas masks come down. But apparently the smoke disappeared pretty quickly. Oh, sorry, the vapor dissipated swiftly. Are you impressed, Ren? I used the fancy words.
No. Just get on with it.
And apparently the masks made a boing sound as they came down. I'm just imagining the Looney Tunes sound effect, like boing. All right, strap on your clown shoes.
I love how, like, out of all the different things that stuck out to them and they remembered, it was the sound of the oxygen masks coming down.
I know, right? And more bad news is the rear ceiling. Near, you know, how there's this, like, toilets at the very back of the plane usually. That had kind of collapsed a little. Luckily, there was no huge hole in the plane.
Collapsed.
The ceiling collapsed a little, just a bit. Like, you would have to, you know, like, squat to go in and get into the toilet. Maybe, I don't know.
Why did it collapse?
Well, we're going to get to that later. For now, I'm just going to tell you what happened, so you can be as confused as the people on the plane.
All right.
Yay. So, Ochiai Yumi, she says that some people, like, went, ah! But, like, only once. They weren't, like, screaming for ages. They were just shocked by the big noise. People apparently didn't start panicking really much at all, which is honestly impressive. Like, I would have been, like, shaking in my boots.
I mean, I would have as well. It would have been, at that point, I've been like, okay, this is the part I die, isn't it?
And yeah, go in.
Why?
I thought you were going to say something.
Oh.
You're going to say something.
I don't know. Like when I've been in a couple of planes that were behaving incredibly violently in really bad storms. I mean, like really bad, but like not as bad enough for the pilot to come on and be like, "Okay, we're all going to die," and not bad enough for the oxygen mask to come down either. So I guess it can't have been that bad. But like I don't know, I just get super calm. It's just like, oh well, if it goes down, it goes down.
Oh, actually, yeah, I get like that sometimes. Like whenever I get on a plane, like part of me remembers all of the air crash investigations that I've watched, and is just like, well, I could die today. Oh well.
Make sure to write a diary so they can get an actor to play you in air crash investigations.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Write some like cryptic messages is what I want to do. It's just like, I buried my gold underneath the dolphin. And then everyone's like, what?
Nice.
What? But yeah, people helped each other put on the masks to help them breathe. They were extra near Ochiayumi. Like 3 came down, even though she only needed 1. So that was good.
She got a buff.
She got a buff, yeah. She's on the right seat, obviously.
In case one breaks, you know?
Yeah.
She's oxygened up.
Like, she'd obviously, like, worked a lot of hours on flights by this point, but she'd never had this happen before, like, actually have to do the oxygen stuff. But she said that things were actually going surprisingly smooth with the passengers. And actually, some of the passengers, like, went up to the flight attendants and were like, oh, daijoubu desu ka? Like, are you going okay? It's like, oh, that's so sweet. They were worried about the flight attendants, which is very sweet. And the view from the windows at this point, like, I think it was, like, cloudy, so they could just see clouds out the window. Bad news is the cockpit was not being very useful. The captain and co-pilot and the flight engineer were not saying much, so obviously people got a little spooked by that, but they didn't do anything. They were just looked worried. And they were like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, are we okay? Like,
are we going to die?
I'm pretty sure that's because they forgot to put on their masks and they were lacking oxygen.
Oh, obviously. The only explanation for being concerned on a flight where, like, there's been an explosion behind you.
No, that's actually what happened.
They
didn't put their masks on straight away.
Oh, so they were, like, getting confused. I see.
Oh,
I'm not sure whether it was that point.
I missed that part.
Yeah, that's actually what happened, as far as I know.
Oh,
I don't know which point it was, but it was relatively early on. They just forgot to put on their masks, and they're like, oh, shit, we have masks here, we should do that.
I think you're thinking of the pilots.
Who are you thinking of?
I was thinking of I thought you were saying that the people in the passengers had forgotten to put on the masks, but no.
There were some people who were running out of oxygen in the passengers section as well.
This is also true. Yeah, we're going to get to that. But then the flight attendants, they were like, they were like serious. They weren't like making jokes and cracking smiles or whatever. They were saying like, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. We're trained for this. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, oh, that's really it's heartening to hear that in a moment of crisis. So props to them. And another funny thing from Ochiayumi's like recollection of this is she's like, oh yeah, all the female passengers were just like pretty calm, but the men freaked out. I was like,
I see.
Okay. And then she's like, the men were like asking the flight attendants like, oh, are we going to be okay? Like, is things going to be all right? Like, they were the ones asking all the questions, and like, and like what one guy, like, so they were told to put on their like safety vests and stuff. Not safety vests, inflatable life vests. And so some guy like accidentally inflated it in the plane. It's like, oh. And he's like, oh, what do I do? And she's like, it's fine. Just leave it as it is. It's inflated now. It's okay.
There's no going back.
I think the reason they don't is so it's easier to get out of the plane.
Yes. Yeah. It's not like it's going to hurt you. It's just like, you know, how are you going to get out? Anyway, so the plane starts doing roller coaster stuff.
Yeah, specifically, what do they call it? A Dutch roll.
The passengers don't know that.
Which sounds delicious, but it's not.
It does sound delicious, actually, I was going to say. So people rush to put on their seatbelts, but the bad news is the G's, the force from the roller coaster vibes on the plane, the up and down, people actually started passing out from the seatbelt putting too much pressure on their chest.
Nice.
Apparently. Which, like, I didn't quite understand how that works, but So some people actually undid their seatbelts because it was so uncomfortable.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like that. You have to be pretty desperate to undo your seatbelt when you're like, ugh, going up and down like crazy.
What happens with that is that the plane is yawing, like it's spinning on like a flat axis around like a sort of spin top axis, you know? And it's also like tilting at the same time, like it's rolling.
Ooh.
But in a weird sort of period of like a few, what is it, like 10 to 12 seconds or something? And it's out of sync. So it's going all over the fucking place.
Oh, that's very uncomfortable.
That's something that can happen if your plane isn't like stabilized. So what happens is normally the plane actually has a computer system, and obviously many of them. One automatically adjusts the rudder and stuff without pilot input, just to counter these movements and like stop it going into these weird phases. So like, that wasn't working.
Right.
Oh,
obviously,
yeah. Well, it was being a wild horse,
uncooperative.
It wasn't listening to instructions, obviously. This roller coaster action started around 6:24. The explosion happened like 6:24. They'd only been on the flight for 12 minutes at that point. The pilots had seen the alarm when the explosion went off, and they were like, "Oh, mazui. Guys, something just exploded." And so they immediately send a distress signal, which, Rin, what the heck is a squawk 7700?
It's like a...
I was asking for help with technical language, but Rin is just as stupid as I am when it comes to whatever that is. So they send out a distress signal, which is basically plain bad help, I think.
Well, it's a distress signal. What do you think it is?
Okay, thank you.
Wait, which one is it? A squawk what?
Squawk 7700.
Ah.
Are you Googling it right now?
Yes, I am. It's a distress signal. No, it's a distress signal, but it's literally just like, I think it's who it's sent to, maybe.
Oh.
Is it like a specific code, a kind of distress signal?
It's like, we are in distress. Please send hot chocolate and blankets.
How?
More like, we're about to die. Tell us where to crash so that we don't kill people.
Pretty
my
sure.
God.
Yeah, they don't really do that either.
They weren't at that point. So Tokyo Air Traffic Control hears this squawk 7700 and requests the plane to return to
general
Haneda.
Emergency, I think.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's just like things gone bad.
Plain bad.
Plain bad.
Bad plane.
Bad plane. Bad. Down.
No, not
No,
down.
up.
So anyway, Tokyo Air Traffic Control, they say, all right, bring around, bring her back to home base at Haneda and we'll have a look at it. And so to their credit, they only take like a minute to do that. And so they immediately start preparing for an emergency landing by JAL123 at Haneda. Around this time, the pilot and the co-pilot realize that the plane is
not working.
The controls don't work. It's buggy. It's
not buggy.
Buggy.
Well, usually you'd expect to like pull the thing to make it go up, and it would go up.
A bug is an electronic
but it's not doing
bug.
that. Oh, okay.
They've lost hydraulic pressure.
No, we don't say that until later.
Why?
We're pretending that we're like on the plane and we don't know what's going on.
What? Oh, is that what we're doing? With roleplay?
We're laughing.
Roleplay.
Actually, scream.
So the pilots realize like 2 minutes like after the explosion's gone off that, oh wait, no, yeah, literally says it right here. God, I'm so sorry, Rin. I apologize. The pilots realize that it's the hydraulics. So
yeah, no fucking shit.
And they're correct. Which brings us to the question, Rin, what is hydraulics in a plane? Why is it in it?
Do you know how hydraulics work at all?
My understanding is it's the blood of the plane. So
it's not blood, it's oil or incompressible liquid, but okay.
Well, I'm going to call it plain blood. And so, like, the hydraulics, they control the bits of the plane, right? Like, to make it go, like up and down and stuff, right?
The point of hydraulics in the first place is you have, like, a master cylinder and a slave cylinder, which is, like, one moves. Don't get all kinky on me. You have the... You basically...
That wasn't where I was going, but okay.
You have like
who's the guy who has the philosophy about that?
It's technically the master and slave is technical terminology used in a lot of fields.
yeah, it's
Oh,
like
really?
a lot of
Yeah, programming as well.
power dynamics.
I would say like my field is education, and we do not use that terminology. I can guarantee.
Because you're not a fucking engineer. No. It's for
Continue.
it's in systems engineering. It's when you have like anything with when you have a sort of mechanical advantage. You often use like master and slave when you control one thing, and then you have a different output on the other end. It's like the
so the plain blood makes the
oil. When you basically push the master cylinder, it'll have a certain diameter, yeah. So you're displacing a certain amount of oil, and you push that down, say, a narrow pipe, and then that connects to another cylinder, the slave one, that's of a different diameter. So let's say it's quite a lot narrower. It's going to go further because you're displacing the same amount of liquid, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's narrower, so it's moving further along because that's just how it works. It's same volume.
There's less space for it.
So you're also getting, I think, it's sort of like gears as well. Like I forget how it works. I'm pretty sure you have more torque, like basically more power. If you're pushing something further, let's say you use an electric motor to push the skinny one, the fat one's going to be moving a lot slower on the other end, but with a lot more force.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's how they operate really heavy things like the bits on a plane that move around and have to counter like really strong forces from the air.
Mm-hmm.
You can control them with your hands and stuff in the cockpit because you've got all this mechanical force.
So they use the plain blood, also known as oil, to like do the big strong thing and make the plane do the maneuvering.
Yeah, basically. If you're an idiot.
Oh, I'm a genius. So the pilots realized pretty soon on that there was a problem with the hydraulics specifically, but they kept trying to steer with the hydraulics. I mean, like, I guess they didn't have any other options.
How else are you going to fucking steer?
Yeah. But they kept trying to steer. Is like they didn't give up. They didn't give up. From here on out, like sorry, go for it, Rin.
There are other ways to steer technically. It's just really difficult.
Oh.
You basically power up one engine and like you can technically turn the plane using power, but it's dangerous and like obviously difficult.
I mean, the pilots, like the pilot and the co-pilot, well, especially the pilot, like he was quite experienced, is my understanding. Like he wasn't some spring chicken.
Very experienced, yeah.
Yeah. Like he'd flown this specific like plane and this specific route a whole bunch. But yeah, I guess like doing something like that would be really tricky, especially considering that it's very possible and very likely that the pilots themselves are experiencing some form of hypoxia, as you were saying before, like they were running out of oxygen in the cabin. So if you don't have oxygen, you famously are not good at making split-second decisions. But they were doing their best. I respect that. This podcast is not throwing any shade at the pilots. We're all on the same page.
I don't think we are even in any position to like even be considered throwing shit at the pilots.
No, the pilots did a really good job. Trust me.
Yeah. Like they did the best that you could possibly do in the situation. But we'll tell you why later, Aki. So the ground control is like, okay, you're going a little bit further away from Haneda. Like at this point, you may as well just go straight on to Nagoya, which is like directly ahead of you. And it meant that they didn't have to turn the airplane around, right? But the pilots, they said, no, actually, we would prefer to return to Haneda presumably because it has like a nice big runway because it's like a huge airport. And around this time, the pilots are given permission to do their communications not in English. Up until now, they've been doing all their emergency communications in English as a standard, apparently.
Yeah, all pilots have to speak English.
Right.
It's the international aviation language.
Yeah.
I don't know why English ended up being the aviation language, but
why wouldn't it be?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, originally aviation was invented in America.
Oh,
and sort of expanded from there, so...
All right.
And English is the lingua franca of the world.
Colonialism, woo! Anyway, so they stopped speaking colonialism language and they start speaking different colonialism language. They start speaking Japanese because they've probably got enough to worry about right now. It's what I've written down.
Both empirical languages. They cannot deny.
This is true. Like, it's like I don't want to have to do emergency like procedures in English. Like, let's just swap to Japanese, which valid, honestly. I would not want to do the reverse, especially because I can't fly a plane. I have this is a very sad picture. If you read Japanese, you probably are having trouble reading Japanese right now because the handwriting's not great.
I mean, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. She did try her best. I think this is a lady. So as for the passengers, by around 6:30, 6:30, some of them had started writing wills. This one says, well, it's written badly, probably because like not much oxygen, and also wearing an oxygen mask.
The plane's being flown around like crazy.
Yeah, and also the plane's just like doing roller coaster rubbish. So I'm impressed that they managed to write this much. Anyway, so what this says is, I've translated this, so if it's wrong, you can blame me only and only me. Mum, it's a shame it's come to this. Sayonara, which translator's note means goodbye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Please take care of my children. It's 6:30 now. The plane is flying around and falling rapidly. I'm really grateful to you for how happy my life has been. And that's it.
Nice.
Diff.
It's grim. It's grim
Pretty
stuff.
classic. Pretty classic stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, what would I write? I'd probably write pretty much the same thing. Like, except I don't have kids to take care of. Except for like, I've got some plans back home that maybe need to be taken care of. But God, it's just like, could you imagine like feeling like it's like, I know I'm going to die. I better write this note just so that like, my mom can see this. Like,
To be fair,
God.
that's what all wills are. I'm gonna die. I should write something.
Yeah,
One is just under duress.
Like I've taught
duress,
lots of writing at the primary school level, and we teach lots of different formats, like such as
how to write a will.
letters.
Oh, that's a great class. That's a great class.
All right, kids, just remember at all times, you are mortal. You will die someday.
You will die sometime. And if you have any luck, you have someone who actually wants to read your will.
Oh,
Wow.
God. Okay. I think I need to lighten the mood. Here we go. Welcome to Air Crash Investigations. This is the episode that they did on JAL123. So I was actually mostly quite impressed with it. So they managed to find a whole bunch of like English-speaking actors who were like presumably of Japanese heritage, which was impressive.
I mean, if you go to Hawaii or something.
Oh, true. I think America just has like lots of Japanese people there in general. So probably
on the West Coast, yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. And they did get them to do some weird Japanese accents at times. I was like, yeah, this person was told to do a Japanese accent. But mostly it felt quite realistic and it was really well acted. Although they did like forget to mention that Kyo Sakamoto was on the plane. But, well, you can't fit everything into like 40 minutes or whatever. But they had this bit where they show the passengers writing these wills to their families, and this absolute treasure pops up on the screen. Just would like to analyze what's wrong with this picture.
I thought they were piecing together like a notebook that was burned in the fire or something.
No,
because it doesn't read properly.
It does not. So if you don't read Japanese much at this point, let us help you out. So the person who wrote this obviously they've broken up the kanji for watashi, which is me, into halves, and they've written it as if it's two different words. All right.
Oh my gosh.
What else is wrong with it? I've got many mistakes written here. Go for it. Go to town.
I mean, like half, like this is the bottom right of Motomo is like.
Yeah, it's gone. It's missing
gone.
action. It was ejected from the plane. And it's supposed to say Sayai, I believe, but the I is written
Sayai.
so horribly.
The I is just like compressed. Yeah,
I
I could tell it's I. Yeah, it's Sayai.
I think it's supposed to be Watashi no Sayai no, like my dearest, like presumably wife. And then Zutto Anata, always with you. They've written the too big. I'm going to give them feedback to that on this assignment.
I'm more worried about the keshite.
Oh, keshite! It's seen better days.
It
I wouldn't
looks
mark
like
it as
they tried
wrong.
to copy a font but haven't ever written it before.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's what they've done. Yeah.
So
They've copied Mincho or something.
Why is the side complete on the left but not on the right?
I don't know. This is actually a huge mystery to me as someone who teaches Japanese for a living. Like, I don't know how much Japanese this person knew, because they obviously knew some, but not quite enough
That's really funky.
to know how to write watashi. Yeah, it's really funky. Maybe they did it as a joke, just to annoy me. Like, that's the only way I can live with this, is if it's a joke.
I mean, good thing they didn't show this in Japan.
I think they did, actually, though. That's the thing. I think
I thought
they
they have
rebranded
their
it.
own programs in Japan, don't they?
Well, they have their own programs as well, but they also, I believe, aired the Western one, I think, at one point. Like, they gave it a different name.
And they all
aired it.
speak like this. Like this. The plane is going down. With these terrible accents and stuff. Like,
yeah, no, like, the accents were just as bad as what you just did. Like, it was like, some of them were all right, though. But, I would rate this writing assignment in the Will 101 class as about maybe a 5 out of 10. Like, learn to write kanji better if you're going to be putting this on a TV show that's going to eventually be shown in Japan.
learn to write a better will and you can graduate to 6th grade.
Yeah, the 5th grade curriculum in Australia is getting pretty full on. Anyway, that's been a little fun detour into the world of TV so that we don't have to think about the horrors of this, what's about to happen. So, this is it's a map.
Nice.
Yeah. So, would anyone like to interpret this map for us, for our listeners?
I see a loop-de-loop.
There is a loop-de-loop.
Oh, what's that? Oh, that's yeah. What is it? Otsuki? What do they call it?
Otsuki, yes, I've been through Otsuki to go to the Persona 4 town.
The train that goes through Tokyo goes there, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can take a train directly to Otsuki from middle of Tokyo, I believe.
Nice.
Chuosen, janai?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this plane does a loop-de-loop around Otsuki.
Just for fun. Runs into trouble sort of near the Izu Peninsula.
Yes, there's like a pink dot down the bottom of the screen where it says Ijo jitai hasse, which is
bad things start happening.
Bad things happen.
Not to regular things.
Yes.
And then
Irregular things.
Goes a bit crazy. Pretty sure it tries to turn around backwards but can't turn. So it ends up going north away from all the other airports into the mountains.
Yeah, like the thing is they got actually surprisingly close. Considering the plane was uncontrollable, they got surprisingly close to returning to Haneda.
Yeah.
They tried really, really hard to get this like down safely. I super respect that. So around 6:35, which is 6:35 is right near Mount Fuji, actually. There's something that says Fuji-san around where it says 6,720 meters.
Next to it.
Yeah, it's a triangle. So around there, the pilots get an alert saying that the R5 door is damaged. And they pass this on to ground control. They say, oh, R5 door, dame desu. Well, that's not what they say, but they probably say something like that. And the whole time, the plane is being extremely difficult to steer. The map honestly looks like me trying to play Flight Simulator on my grandfather's computer.
As if your grandfather's computer could run it.
Yeah. No, he had Flight Simulator in like 2001 or so. Yeah. No, my grandpa was super cool. He like spent a whole bunch of money on computers. He was extremely hip.
That is not the average. Why are you using your grandpa as an anecdote when he's like a clear exception to grandpas?
No, this is...
It's like my grandpa didn't know he was a tech nerd.
True, this is true. But yeah, no, this looks like me trying to fly a plane, honestly, especially the loop-de-loop. But the plane, as you can tell from the altitude numbers, it's going down and then up again, and then down and then up again, and then up, same, and then down, and then down, and then up, and then down. So it doesn't sound very fun. And but one fun thing was Ochiai Yumi said that she could see Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
That just made her day, I'm sure.
I'm sure she was in the right headspace to enjoy that. Around 6:40, the pilots decide to put the landing gear down, which are the little wheels on the bottom, right?
They're not little, but okay.
Why would they put the landing gear down?
Because they're trying to land somewhere. I mean, it depends. They're away from the ocean. The only time you would try and land in an emergency without your wheels down is if you're trying to do a water landing, but basically you're completely fucked in that situation if you try to go anywhere near the water. You're still fucked anyway. Like, there was absolutely no way they could have landed this plane safely without crashing at all under any circumstances by this point. Like, nothing could have saved them. They basically did a really good job keeping it up.
The moment that the explosion happened, like this plane is unlandable, basically. Is my understanding. But I'm surprised. I've actually done more research than Rin in this particular case. Wow. I know in engineering. So
no, you don't.
What I heard was they put the landing gear down because they could. Like, it was one of the few parts of the plane which is not controlled by the plane blood. It was actually controlled by an electronic backup system. So they actually had the power to put the landing gear down, which opens up some flaps and stuff, and it adds drag to the plane. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, because it sticks out of the plane.
So they put the landing gear down in hopes that it'll add drag and it'll, like, hopefully, like, slow them down, I think was what they wanted. They're just, like, at this point, like, they've been, like, flying uncontrollably for 20 minutes now. Like, they're just going to press all the buttons and just hope that something fixes it. And so that's what they did. Around 6:46, the pilot is like, これはダメかもわかんねえ。山にぶつかるぞ! It's like, they're like getting seriously concerned. Like, they're gonna run into a mountain. They feel like they're not going to be able to land this plane. But, like, apparently the flight engineer, who is the third guy in the cockpit, he was like saying, "Ganbare, ganbare" to the pilots. Like, you can do it. And the pilots, they say the plane is stalling. They're also like, put more power into it. They're feeling really desperate, but they haven't given up. And as things get more and more desperate, the amount of talking that is recorded on the, is it the black box? The amount of talking that's recorded on that, like, they start talking more and more because some of the lines.
Wait, what do they call it? The cockpit voice recorder is,
yes,
I think,
that's the one.
Is that separate to the black box? I think it is. I think the black box records the flight data.
Oh, right. And that's how they have all these good numbers and, like, where exactly it was at what time.
Yeah, like what the input was and what it was doing and things.
Oh, なるほど. And so lots of the lines that you hear from the cockpit voice recorder are like, "We're giving it all she's got, Captain."
Oh my gosh.
They were trying really hard. And then the Americans turn up.
The Americans set up?
The Americans turn up. So there's famously an American army base at Yokota, which you can see on the map, actually. For those who can't read kanji, where it says 1847, just to the right of that, it says Yokota, which is the American army base, right? In Western Tokyo. Hi, just wanted to clear up in post-production. It's not an army base. It is an Air Force base. But it is American. Back to the pod. And so they're like, "We can offer our runway for your plane. You can land here safely." The pilots, I can't remember how they responded to this, but, like, they obviously didn't land at Yokota. They continue just fighting the plane. They keep losing altitude and they can't get the plane to go in the direction they want. By 6:56, they were only at 1,600 meters, which that's, like, not good.
It's not high enough because they're in the mountains, which are generally higher than that.
No, don't like that. And this is where, like, if you've seen a movie, this is what I imagine. It says the pull-up alarm sounds. I imagine it's like the beep, 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 beep. I imagine it make that sound.
It's extremely loud.
And the captain says, "Mo dame da. We're not getting out of this one." And then the right wing hits the trees on top of a mountain in Gunma Prefecture, which is where the X is. So the right wings hit the trees. It breaks off. They're going 630 kilometers an hour, or so, maybe a bit more. They hit it at a 70-degree angle.
70 degree?
Is that bad?
Do you know what 70 degrees looks like?
I'm going to be real with you. Like, mostly.
It's like, that's somewhere between 45 and 90 degrees.
Oh, that's bad.
I like how that actually let him know, like, they actually gave him a reference there.
Listen, I'm good at teaching many things, but maths is not one of them.
Also, it didn't crash nose first. It flipped on its back and exploded.
It did. Yeah. If you've watched the air crash investigations, they have like a CG thing for that. And I looked at it and I was like, nah, that can't be what happened. The impact was around, to give you some context, humans are supposed to be able to generally survive forward impact of about 20 Gs. Like, you can probably survive.
20
The
Gs.
impact, 20 Gs. So 20 gravities, is that what that is?
Do you know what a G is?
No, and I refuse to learn. So the impact was actually around 100 Gs. So that's 5 times more than you're supposed to be able to survive. So, yeah, they crashed into the ridge. Big noise, and that's where the voice recording ends.
Just so you know, 1 G is the force, the acceleration you receive from gravity towards the Earth, which is about 9.8 meters per second, yeah?
Oh.
So if you're experiencing 2 Gs, it means you're experiencing a force of twice that gravity. You're being accelerated twice as fast.
Oh.
No, is it twice as fast or is it twice as hard? Twice as fast.
Twice as hard. Yeah.
Because if you increase your speed in, like, let's say you're doing the loop thing like they do for astronaut training, they just increase the speed and the Gs will naturally increase.
Yeah, they increase the speed, but Gs is a measurement of force, isn't it?
Yeah.
So strictly speaking, it would be
I'm just
how hard.
True. I'm just getting confused because in class they're all like, G isn't a force, it's an acceleration.
Oh, is it?
And when you're doing like maths, you use the G as the acceleration in like F equals mg.
Right, right, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm getting mixed up. Fuck's sake.
That's the thing. The more physics you learn, the less you actually know.
Yeah, but you're on ground zero.
That's how knowledge works.
I haven't learned anything, so I know the most.
That's how all knowledge works, though.
Yes.
I'm an expert because I've never been taught it.
You're just level 0 idiot.
Yeah.
You haven't left the starting village.
Yeah,
Still the tutorial.
Baby.
You're like the person who refuses to read the tutorial boxes and just clicking aimlessly right now.
Your standard equipment is like an oven tray and a fork.
And a potato. Anyway, so here's the crash site. Now this is the picture I chose because some of the pictures are really, really, really upsetting. And I will not repeat to you what I have seen. I will spare you from the details. But according to Ochiai Yumi, she, like, when the plane hit the mountain, so she felt like she wasn't rolled out. Felt like she was, like, literally just thrown out of the plane. And she did the thing, she's like, like, after the fact, she's like, I probably shouldn't have done this. But, like, she was in the brace position, but then once she hit the thing, she puts her head up to see. And, she's like, I regret doing that immediately because things hit her face, obviously. And she's like, her eyes felt really, really painfully hot.
Ow.
Yeah, ouch.
Fireball.
Yeah, ooh, don't like that. And as for what the scene looked like, according to her, she said that there was dust everywhere. It was really, really grey, but it still felt like the evening, like she could tell the time. The smell was apparently horrible. It smelled like oil, like machinery. And the sound, at first she couldn't hear anything, but eventually she could hear people's voices, like she could hear people around her saying like, "Oka-san," like "Mom," and people breathing, and people like saying "Hayaku kite," like
and
hurry
screaming.
up. And
I'm pretty sure there was screaming.
Maybe.
I mean, some people were literally dying.
Accounts. Oh no, yeah, people were literally dying, but I don't remember in her account her describing screams. Yeah, I could be wrong there. Listen, Wakatta Furi, I pretend to have done my research. All I really know about is plain blood.
No, you don't know about that.
I'm an expert at plain blood. What are you talking about?
You're expert at
I've played Flight Simulator
one
2001.
very specific metaphor of hydraulics
I
in
invented
planes.
it. So the situation is that there are people waiting to be rescued on this mountain, and it's like crashed like nearly about 7 o'clock at night, right? The sun's going down, but bad news.
What's the bad news? Besides the plane going down.
Well, okay. First bad news is they've been in a plane crash. Second bad news is no one's actually going to come save them. No one's going to come look for them until the following day.
'Cause America, fuck yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I know what happened.
so-
Yeah,
yeah. Like, I assume Rin, you've read the same thing. Like, according to the U.S. Air Force itself, which is, I'm gonna be real with you, it's not a really trustworthy source of information in many cases. But according to the US Air Force, they offered and prepared a search and rescue team. But the Japanese authorities said, no, call it off.
Why?
Ooh, I don't know. Like, maybe it's jurisdiction or like...
I think they
I don't know.
thought they had it. They're like, this is our land.
Huh.
Basically, we can take care of ourselves. We don't need the US's
Right,
help at every
fair.
opportunity.
Could be.
It was a pride thing, I think. Not the best time to be showing it off.
But Rin, did they have it all together?
No, because they did a flyover and judged that no one could have possibly survived and decided to set up equipment to do like reconnaissance the next day. So they went and like started setting up camp and stuff in the next town.
What?
Yeah, basically. They went camping that night instead of looking for the survivors.
They're like, yeah, no way they're alive, and they didn't bother to like search closer.
I mean,
No.
like in their defense, like it was mountainous terrain from the helicopter, and the visibility wasn't good, and so they couldn't land.
I see.
Apparently, like I mean, like you would look at it and you'd think, wow, yeah, no one's walking off that one. But so Ochiai Yumi, she did survive, and she heard the helicopters, and she's like, yes, oh, finally. It's been a horrible day. Glad there's a helicopter. And she was like, I hope that they're going to come and pick me up and, you know, take me somewhere where they can fix all these horrible injuries. But they left without rescuing anyone. So, yeah, they went camping instead. So by the way, we're talking about the JSDF, the Japanese Self-Defense Force.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah. And then she said she heard lots of voices after the crash, but overnight they literally slowly died out.
Oh, that's really sad.
It's extremely sad. So the rescue operation turns up the next morning, and the doctors turn up and they're like, oh, like this person has survived the crash. They didn't survive the injuries because the injuries were not treated in a timely manner. So the doctors are basically like, yeah, a whole bunch of more people would have lived if they hadn't have like just like said, oh, we'll do it in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's yeah. What message can we take from that? Don't procrastinate your assignments.
Oh, sure.
It's a very making blight of
Prescient.
human lives there. Okay.
Listen, this is the only way I can get through this. It's oh my god. I read some things. I saw some pictures. Yeah. So it's a horrible human tragedy that they didn't actually go and just double check that anyone was, you know, like waiting for them. But as for the survivors, who did survive not only the plane crash, but also the lack of rescue, so there were 524 people on the plane, 4 survivors. Which is, according to my bad maths, is that 0.7%? If it's wrong, yell at me in the comments. So, yeah, one of the survivors was our girl, Ochiai Yumi. And all 4 of the survivors sat in the back 6 rows, mostly in the middle of the plane.
Is that like a expected thing?
Yeah. The tail is generally the safest place in a crash.
Right.
Generally.
Because you're like the furthest away from the impact?
Yeah, also generally, yeah. I think they say the first is the tail just from statistics. I'm not sure exactly why. Generally, I think because it's a nosedive is the most common. Although those generally wipe out everyone, so I don't know. And the second is, I think, near the wings because you're not
you can get
undergoing as
out.
much force. I mean,
Oh.
yes, that, but
Oh,
also
okay.
because you're at the center of the axis.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Like, you're not spinning around like crazy or anything.
Right. Yeah, but like like, so the moral of the story from this particular slide is if you want to survive this particular plane crash or any nose first plane crashes, sit at the back.
I think sitting at the back is also good for like
Using the toilet.
yeah.
Oh, this is also true. That's a big plus.
Sometimes.
True.
I mean, yeah.
But like, which part of the plane is like least turbulent?
The middle.
Rin just answered that. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
well, okay. If you get plane
yeah.
sick, like go near the wings, and if you want to not die in the specific
Go on the
extremely
tail.
rare occurrence, in the tail. Beautiful.
Don't just freely give out advice like that.
Wakatta Furi, we pride ourselves on giving you quality life advice.
Whoa.
Usually
Okay,
people
I'm
you
not
have to
so
pay
sure
for this.
about that.
No.
I'm not so sure
If you
about
don't, if you don't want to die in the plane crash, don't fly. If you don't want to get airsick, take medication.
that.
I love how the second one is like actual advice and the first one's just like well, if there is a viable alternative to flying, we recommend it. I personally like trains. I would recommend trains. They're usually better for the environment.
How would you recommend getting to America then?
Well, back on Google in the day, like if you wanted to go intercontinentally, it would recommend you to kayak. So I would consider kayaking, and if kayaking fails, see if you can find like a rich person who
Are you
owns a yacht
kayaking
that you
back
can.
Are you talking about the 12th
Australia?
century?
No, I'm literally in Google Maps. You like in 2008 or something or 7, you'd be able to ask for directions, and if you told it you wanted to go overseas, then it would literally say kayak.
Well, that's
I
ridiculous
kid you
and
not.
a joke.
I kid you not. I have great memories of that. Playing on
It's
Google Maps as a
amazing
kid.
though.
It's fantastic.
Enormously high death rate.
Well, I mean, but look, it's better than flying. Look.
No, it's not.
Look, 0.7%. It's better.
What? Just, okay, go back to maths
Anyway.
class and then call me back when you're ready.
All right, okay. I'll go take some.
Also, the fact that the plane generally sorts out things like, winds and, the autopilot takes care of all this. You have pilots who are incredibly well trained. Whereas if you get in a boat and you get carried down to fucking Antarctica because of the currents and capsized
dead.
by an orca, that's your own fault.
That's on you. Yeah. All right. Don't go on boats. Don't go on planes. Only go on trains. If there isn't a train to the destination you want to go, either reconsider your need for travel or build a train. That's my
This is the
advice.
part that we talk about how in one of the future episodes we talk about some kind of train disaster, right?
No, my
Train
trains are
disaster?
perfect and they can do no evil.
What?
Don't hurt my metal boys.
Planes are metal too.
Planes are metal sausages, but like trains are metal boys.
Hold on.
No. Trains are connected, so they look more like sausages.
What have I done? I've slandered my
It's
children.
literally a train.
They're holding hands. It's cute. Trains are cute.
It's just a sausage. It's just a buffet.
Oh
A metal buffet of people.
Oh my god. This should be like the describe things badly subreddit. Anyway, so this is where we get to the part where Rin like saves me. I'm gonna mostly pass over to you if that's okay, because
No.
well, I mean, I've got notes here.
Okay.
Well, the plane's not supposed to be doing that, Rin. Can you
No.
tell us what's going on there?
Okay, do you know what fuselage is?
That's the sausage, right?
Maybe when Rin is explaining this, Zen should just not talk.
I've been gagged by my podcast buddies. This is fine. Go for it. Rin and Aki, take us through.
No, because I
what's going
don't
on
know
here?
either. I don't know the specs of this, and I actually want to
Oh.
to hear here.
Okay.
So this is a picture of a plane that's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Rin, can you tell us what this plane is doing?
It's like when a dog has an infection and it starts rubbing its ass on the grass. It gets itchy.
I mean, yeah, sure, we can go with that.
Rin has more of an engineering degree than both of us put together, so I think we have to take his word on this one.
Oh,
Okay,
do
but-
we
okay.
really have to?
Okay, basically, this is a tail strike, which is what happens when a plane comes into land and overestimates the angle they need to pull up the front of the plane, which is like
I see.
you want those back wheels to hit the ground before the front wheels on a plane like this.
Yeah.
And so they need to like adjust the angle, obviously. You adjust it too much and the back of the plane will hit the ground, hence a tail strike,
Mhm.
Ooh.
which is not good. I'm pretty sure
No.
there was a specific one involving the plane that was involved in the JAL123 crash. Like,
Mhm.
what was it, 7 years earlier or something?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good memory. It's 1978. They had a tail strike, according to my notes, at Osaka Airport.
Yes. And what happened is it hit the runway and I think a few people were injured, like quite a few. And I think two
what? Really?
quite... Yeah. It was pretty bad. Like, it was...
Ooh.
Quite a lot of people were injured. I think 2 were injured quite badly, like critically. But no one died. And then what happened is, to fix the problem... Should I move on
Do you
to
want the
the
next slide?
engineering a bit?
Yeah.
Yes,
Let's go to
yes.
the next slide. Here we go.
Okay, this is called the... Why is it rear? Aft pressure bulkhead. Is that weird sort of spiderwebby looking film thing there. And what that does is that separates the pressurized cabin where you can breathe and you have more air than you normally would
Mhm.
being 30,000 feet in the air
Mhm.
from the rear bit there, which is the... Is it the tail? I forget what they call it, tailpiece. That's actually got the hydraulics in it to control like the rudder, to control the elevators, things like that. It's also got, I think, the... Is it the black box and stuff like that? It's got something back there that's pretty important. I forgot.
Wait, so that's all that grey stuff on the top left picture is the tailpiece?
The tubey bit down the bottom.
Oh, the ice cream cone is the tailpiece.
I mean, the whole bit is the tailpiece, but the bit down the bottom is the important bit in this case because it's not pressurized. The top left picture, the
Yes.
tube underneath the tail fin thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So like the ice cream
pressurized
cone.
on the left. Yes, pressurized on the left, not pressurized on the right.
Gotcha.
And that little film thing there, which is generally up until then made out of, I think, aluminium and made of like a shit ton of metal being bolted together very, very strongly. And has like, what do you call it? There should be little holes and stuff like that in there, which they run the cables and stuff through for the hydraulics and stuff. But this was damaged quite badly, I think, in the tail strike from earlier.
Mhm.
And what they were supposed to do is one of the pieces was broken quite badly, and they were supposed to just sort of splice it, like seen in the bottom right picture. So rather than just having the two pieces overlapping as normal, they put a splice plate in between it and run... There should be 2 sets of bolts going through between each piece and the splice plate.
Are they
There we go. So-
rivets?
Yeah, rivets, but they're bolts, rivets, whatever.
Oh, they're the same. Sorry, whatever.
Well, I don't think they're the same, but I think in
Well, they're the
generally,
same because I know everything about engineering because I've never opened an engineering book.
I think generally in planes they're bolts.
Ah,
Rivets used in like building houses and stuff.
no, yeah,
or am I getting
probably.
really
That's right.
confused?
I've probably got this wrong.
I don't build houses. I don't know.
Listeners, if you're planning on building an aeroplane, please check if you need bolts or rivets. Thank you.
I think that would definitely be helpful. Yeah.
Oh no, rivets are in old
Yeah.
race cars and stuff. I don't know. Either way. But there should be, like the splice plate should have 3 bolts running through it and 2 per bulkhead, as you can see in the top, as per a correct repair. So it's quite strong. It's quite it's spliced together very strongly. What happened with the bottom one is it didn't cover the whole thing. So there was only, I don't know what the fuck the splice plate on the left is doing, but basically there's not a single piece running across the whole unit. So there's only 1 set of bolts rather than 2 holding together the 2 bulkheads.
That's not good.
No, it's really not good. And what happened is it was covered up with, I think, a sort of that gummy sort of seal stuff, so they couldn't actually see that the proper gap was there.
Oh no, that's really bad. Like it's like botched, and you can't even tell that it's botched because they've like botched the botching.
You should, like, honestly, at this point, the checks weren't automated or anything. They were done by eye, and they missed quite a lot of stuff just because it was impossible to see all of it. But
Right.
it was a bit deeper than usual because there wasn't enough sort of holding it up. But they obviously couldn't notice it. basically a lot weaker. And I think they estimated that with this sort of repair job, the piece would have about 10,000 hours flight time before it,
Which is not high.
before it broke. It's not that high, no. And what happened is, I think it made it to about 12,000 and something. And then this went in the middle of the flight.
Oh.
And
So the culprit was the rear pressure bulkhead.
The aft pressure bulkhead. But yeah.
The aft pressure bulkhead, depending on what type of English you speak, maybe.
It's like a ship. Aft.
Aft.
But yeah, so this blows basically. The cabin decompresses.
Before we go to that, like, can I ask, like, so you were saying, like, they repaired it. Who repaired this?
The repair people.
Do you know who they were?
JAL technicians.
They were not JAL technicians.
Oh, no, it was outsourced.
Yeah, so I read this. I may have read this in a YouTube comment. Oh, I'm so sorry, but like what like the way it was explained to me is that like if you break something yourself and it's like small, like you'll repair it yourself, right? JAL would just repair like small things, like especially in the cabin or whatever, right? But
what about big things they outsource?
Big things, you send it back to manufacturer.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so they sent the plane back, or they got someone from Boeing, the people who made the plane, to fix this. So the people who fixed this were not JAL, they were Boeing. I just wanted to get that real clear. So it was not, JAL was not responsible
fault, technically,
for this botched repair. Yes.
And I'm assuming that the botched repair is the reason why this all went wrong?
So it's 100% this botched repair, but it's sort of a ton of different people have to sign off on this. So like the JAL engineers and stuff will look over it anyway, but there's no way they could tell it was botched at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, what happened is this blows in the middle of the flight. The entire cabin is depressurized basically. So all the air rushes out the back. It immediately condenses because of the pressure, which is the white vapor that fills the cabin.
Oh, is that what that was? So it was literally like water vapor.
Yes.
Oh, it wasn't smoke. All right, okay, no, I'm learning.
It was vapor, which is why it dissipated as well. So yeah, pressure's lost, etc. What also happened is it blew off most of the tailpiece, so you no longer have an elevator nor a vertical stabilizer.
And we need those because
you need a vertical stabilizer and the rudder, I mean, which is the bit that stops it from mostly from like spinning and stuff. Like it literally stabilizes it.
Oh, that sounds important.
On a sort of axis, and also it helps it turn, hence rudder. And they lost all the hydraulics leading to that area as well, hence the loss of pressure.
So like with the loss of hydraulics, I'm just imagining like a hose that like you just cut in half and like basically, all the water from it just like leaks out.
Pretty much.
Is that kind of what happened in the air?
I don't know to what extent, but probably like that.
Oh no, my plane is bleeding.
You were waiting for that.
But I mean, also you can literally see the tail fin's gone.
Yeah, this photo is like such like a it's not lucky because everything to do with this was unlucky basically. Well, almost everything, but like the fact that they like some random person managed to take a photo of this exact plane after this, like in the like 30 minutes that it was available in this state to take a photo of. Plane nerds, woohoo! And so what they did is they found the person who took this photo. They found someone who had a photo of this, and then they zoom and enhanced. I kid you not.
CSI.
Yeah, so pressurized air like can like rip off stuff because it's scary.
Yeah, obviously.
Is what I've learned.
Yeah, I mean, like you're flying at this wasn't super high altitude because it was only a local flight, but it was still like high enough to cause a lot of damage. Like depressurization is like happens before most of these major crashes because like the wings will be ripped off or like the tailpiece will be ripped off or there's a hole in the side, Like,
right. Okay. Good. So if the air masks come down, that's probably not a good sign. Air masks coming down is a bad sign.
The mask coming down is like basically preparing for an emergency. Like you could be doing an emergency landing or whatever because it's important to have oxygen no matter what's going on. But I mean, like generally it's because of like depressurization or whatever.
Right. I have another, like, we've already spoken about this before, but, like, at this point, once you've lost that much of your tail, like, steering the plane is impossible.
It's basically impossible, yeah. They only managed to do about half a turn, and then they're just, like, they pretty much lost the ability to steer for the most part.
Was, like, the hydraulic pressure just going down constantly? I guess it would have been.
Yeah, so eventually, and you have no rudder.
Ooh! It's bad. It's
You can't
bad.
just like stuck with no way to control the plane. It's just moving.
Like with your ailerons and your power, like with your thrust, you can sort of rig a turn, but it's not easy.
Or reliable.
No.
I read that, like, in simulations that they did, like, so that they wanted to find out, was this the pilot's fault, right? Like, because it's a big, expensive, bad problem. They wanted to find out, was it JAL's pilot's fault, or was it, like, was it savable? And they got, like, pilots to do simulations of this same situation, and none of them were able to land it.
I'm pretty sure they also figured that no one was able to keep it in the air as long either. Like, it was a miracle.
Wow,
or at least the
really?
dude was insanely skilled. Like, no one could recreate them keeping it aloft this long.
That's impressive.
Probably also like the heat of the moment.
Oh yeah, like I guess, like, if you're doing a simulation, like, you're not like, oh, like, I'm gonna, like,
Fighting for your
actually
life.
die. Yeah, but these guys, and the fact that they were doing it in hypoxic situations, like, their brains weren't even working properly, and yet
they did remember to
they
put
still
on their
managed to
masks.
do this.
It was just like a few minutes in. It was like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, but, like, the other thing is, which I actually didn't put in my notes, this is, like, I haven't found any other places that have spoken about this. This is only from the air crash investigations thing, so if it's wrong, blame them. But, like, they were saying that halfway through, the oxygen, like, delivery system just stopped working sometimes.
Yeah, that's...
To everyone, including presumably the pilots. And so sometimes people were just gasping for air.
I'm pretty sure there were accounts of passengers that were having hypoxia as well.
Yeah. It's just bad time all around, and, like, managing to keep this aloft when they don't have oxygen is incredibly impressive. So hats off to them. So we're back into my territory, I think. So I want to talk a little bit about the cultural impact of this crash. So Sakamoto Kyu, as we were talking about before, he was the very famous singer who was on this plane, and he did not survive, as you may have surmised. The Japanese music industry lost one of its greats at only age 43. So he would, if he was still alive today in 2022, he would be 81. And you just think of all of the contributions that he would have made to Japanese music had he have not tragically been on this cursed flight. And the outpouring of sadness from not only his fans, but just, like, the entire country. Not only have they lost, like, so many innocent lives, they've lost some very notable innocent lives as well. And so some people actually paid to go in a helicopter to go to the side of the crash, drop flowers from the helicopter. Yes, that's I've seen footage of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was really, really beloved. Beloved. That's fine. I don't speak English, but it was a loss for humanity, basically, is what I wanted to say. And by the way, Ochiai Yumi, so she survived, as we mentioned. She apparently continued working for JAL until she retired, which I'm going to guess is around age 60. Maybe the retirement age for cabin attendants is a bit younger, I'm not sure, but yeah, like, we stand a resilient queen. Like, she just, like, in a plane crash, just do some rehabilitation and get on some more planes and do some more work. Like, wow. It's pretty impressive.
Nice.
Next up, I want to talk about JAL. So this is a photo of... I actually should have gone and seen this, because I was actually right near this when I went to Haneda Airport. This is the JAL Safety Promotion Center, Anzen Keihatsu Center, and it's right next to Haneda Airport. And so in that center, you can literally see the failed piece. This is the aft...
Not good.
I've already forgotten what it's called. The aft...
Yeah, I'm not going to help.
Pressurization bulkhead. Is that it?
Aft pressure bulkhead.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm learning. So, anyway, JAL, who does the public blame? So, Like Aki, who would you blame for this this horrible mistake?
The company that runs the flight.
Yeah, obviously you don't blame the people who actually made the mistake, which is Boeing. No, you blame JAL, who actually for once.
Because you're not flying with Boeing. You didn't pay Boeing to get your flight. You paid JAL.
This is true. Oh, by the way, is that clicking?
That's me clicking.
Oh, I won't be able to remove that from your thing.
Okay.
Zen, stop shitting yourself. You're gonna have to remove the whole thing.
Can we try that again? If I so much as hear a middle mouse button, if anyone mentions a mouse cord to me, I will lose it like Mario.
Like, was there a stick on your seat when you sat down this morning?
So basically they, like, the public, a large portion of the public, before it became clear, and even after it became clear, but before it became clear that it was Boeing's fault, they blamed JAL, who for once in their life actually weren't the bad guys here, from what I can tell.
What do you mean for once in their life?
Once in their life? Why are they usually the bad guys?
I'm antagonistic towards airlines in general. I'm a train person, so...
What?
But
that's the stupidest reason.
Well, listen, I fly on planes only when there are literally no other viable options, as I
you can
mentioned
literally
before.
blame airlines for people's deaths wherever possible.
Oh. No, I'm not blaming... well, I'm blaming them for people's deaths when it's their fault. In this case, it's not JAL's fault.
It's not... Is it not JAL's fault?
No, it wasn't. Like, not really.
They weren't the ones who made the mistake that caused the failure, right?
No. The mistake was made by Boeing. And it was made in a way, like Reem was saying before, that it's hard to notice that they've made a mistake because they've filled it in with putty or whatever.
But the responsibility still lies with JAL to ensure that the flight is safe.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they did checks by eye, but like with the age it was, like the mid-80s, the technology wasn't as good most of the checks. I'm pretty sure they said most of the eye checks would miss a lot of these small, like, fractures and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I guess... So they did their due diligence?
Yes. I think they did.
I'd say within regular limitations, yeah.
Okay.
Them checking every, like, rivet that has been put into this plane, bolt, I don't know, that has been put into this plane, I think is, like, a little bit above their pay grade. I think that's usually the responsibility of the people who make the plane and who fix the plane. I see what you're pointing to, Aki. You're pointing to a grey area in responsibility, and like I get great. That, but the mistake in the first place was made by people who they should have been able to trust, because they're the manufacturer. Like, if they can't get it right, anyway. So people thought that Boeing was, like, taking the fall for JAL to like protect a big customer of theirs. They're like, oh, it's a cover-up. It was actually JAL's fault all along. Boeing's just pretending that it was their fault. And, like, okay, maybe, or whatever. So as for its like financial impact on JAL, so JAL was not a stock-listed company, stock market. It wasn't on the stock market until 2002, but it did take a huge hit to its ridership. Apparently, like, within a couple of months, it had decreased by a quarter, which is huge. Who do you think people mostly swapped to if they still needed to fly somewhere and there wasn't a train available?
A&A?
They swapped to A&A, which was a safer alternative.
Also, did you hear the thing about the cockpit voice recorder? Because I'm pretty sure, like, not all of it got out. Like, it was actually quite recent when it came out, but I'm pretty sure there was a clip of the pilot saying like, "Donto ikoya" before it crashed.
Yeah.
And
so
they're like, that could be very easily misinterpreted. And they're like, maybe the pilot did this on purpose.
I don't think it was the pilot. I think
it obviously wasn't.
It's like "Donto ikoya." For those who aren't don't know what that means. Like, you could translate it as maybe like, yeah, let's give it all we got. Like, let's go for it. Or Don also has the connotations, unfortunately, of explosions. Like, I don't, or maybe I'm thinking Dokkan, but It's
Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
yeah, let's just do this. And some people would have been like, oh, you see, that's proof that they were trying to crash it. But no, I think they were just trying to like, gambare, like, don't lose hope. What do you two reckon?
Mm.
I mean, there's no good answer, but like I'd imagine that he's trying to, be encouraging, find some hope.
Yeah.
I think when they try doing an attempted landing, or like there's like a mountain or whatever in front of you, and you go, "Oh, don't we call ya?" It's sort of like let's wing this bitch.
All right. Yeah. I think they were just trying their best. So JAL didn't admit fault, which valid, I think. But what they did do is they did pay out 780 million yen, which is like what 7.6 million US dollars to the victims' relatives as condolence money, which is like, wow,
Condolence
yeah,
money.
sorry that your loved one is dead. That's not good. When we feel for you.
I'm pretty sure was that like a legally required thing, or was it just?
I don't think so. I don't
They
think
probably
like
could have
they weren't
sued
forced
for
to.
it, but yeah.
You probably could have sued, right?
They probably could have sued for it. Maybe it was like in place of like doing a court case, which
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
but
says
that's a lot of money though, because like that I
It's not
did
really.
some back of the envelope stuff, and it's like 150 million per victim, which is like accounting for inflation. Like, well, without inflation, it's 11,000 US dollars, but like with inflation in the mid 80s, like that would have been a huge amount of money, considering there are so many passengers who died. Hi, this is Zen in post-production. I have foolishly forgot that Japan actually hasn't had that much inflation since the 1980s, which is a story for another day. But that means that the amount of money received by the families from JAL as condolence money, that actually didn't end up being that much. If you convert it into modern yen and then convert that into US dollars, it's about 15,000 US dollars. So that's not actually that much, considering the family member was in a horrendous plane crash. There you go. I just wanted to fix that mistake. Back to the pod.
I mean,
It's like,
it is also an airline.
Yeah, this is also an airline. Yeah,
They
and
have
it was
big
the
bucks.
80s, so they were probably swimming in the money. So
They were.
yeah,
You should think about that's a lot of money for the family, though.
that is a lot of money for the family. I don't know.
It's good. It's good that they were fed. Well, you can never equate human life to any monetary.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
value.
I was going to say like,
Until
like-
you join a slave market.
Well,
Great.
yeah. Then I don't think you're really
Great.
treating them like humans
Can't
at
put
that
a
point.
price on people until you just do.
Until you do.
speaking of horribly inappropriate jokes, one of my favorite podcasts, whenever they talk about the human tragedy of these things and the payouts, they always like calculate its cost, like how big the payout is in Xboxes.
What?
I don't have the heart to calculate it in Xboxes, but maybe I do have the heart to calculate it in the equivalent 1980s like home entertainment system.
But we already talked about this in the episode too. Like it was an emerging market. I'm not sure you can compare it. It wasn't a standardized thing.
Maybe we can do it in Disney like entrance tickets, like Disneyland.
Is that a thing?
I mean, like some of the people were. Oh God, that's dark. Some of the people were actually going to Disneyland. I'm extra sad. Other than them paying out money to the victims' families, some other things happened. So the president resigned.
Of Turkey.
President of JAL, the president of the United States resigned because Boeing made a mistake. The president of JAL resigned, and tragically, 2 JAL workers related to the maintenance of the plane committed suicide, and one specifically said because he felt guilt for what had happened. And I'm like, oh, it's not your fault. You did the best that you could have done. It's really sad, but we're going to get to this later. But part of me thinks that maybe his family may have been being harassed because he worked on the plane. I don't know if that's...
If you're just a maintenance worker, I don't think they'd really know your name. There are exceptions, but unless you were implicated, and I don't think you'd be put on the news or anything.
This is true. although Japanese like investigative reporters, I think they can be pretty feisty. So
Yeah,
who
I guess so.
And apparently, I didn't know this existed, but there was a JAL TV show which was on Japanese TV for like over 2 decades. It was called Up Down Quiz, which I don't know what it's about, but if it has quiz in the name,
What does that mean?
Up down quiz.
Quiz?
Quiz.
What was it about?
Rin, remember the thing that you like? Don't ask me what it's about. I just said I haven't read.
Wait, why did you bring it up?
I thought it was interesting because it's like the collateral damage with this horrible accident was like wide ranging. Yeah, so their TV show cancelled. The number 123 cancelled. At least on that route, it's like we're not going to fly any planes under that number anymore between Tokyo and Osaka. Yeah, I mean, like it's bad vibes. Now, Rin, do you know anything about the repercussions that happened at Boeing?
Not much.
Yeah, that's because there isn't much to know.
Do you want to elaborate?
This is where like my research isn't very good. Can I take like 2 minutes to just double check that I'm right with this?
Yeah, sure. Before you libel Boeing.
Yeah, it's like they paid nothing, and then they've actually paid something.
This is the part gets sued, right? This is the
part where Zen gets sued. Wait, no, this is just the flight. No, I want the problem with the. Oh no, this is the right one. Where has it gone?
I want to watch the new episode of Spy Family.
But does it have a rap in it?
I don't know. I assume not, especially since rap wasn't a genre when this is, I think, set.
Okay, so according to airliners.net/forum/viewtopic.php *T equals 539655. There were not any criminal charges against Boeing. The Japanese prosecutors decided not to, and Boeing settled with the families. So Boeing did pay compensation.
Okay.
Although we don't know how much, but there were no charges against them. So basically Japan decided to not sue Boeing. Yeah. Okay. I guess it's like you don't want to get one of the US's biggest, most useful things that they do, which is make planes. You don't want to get them offside, I guess.
I mean, at least they did pay out to the families. So
Yeah,
that's
at
the
least
most
they paid
important
At
thing.
least they paid out. Yeah. I mean, no criminal charges. I don't know how I feel
Is
about
it
that.
criminal though? I mean,
It's criminal negligence, like very clearly, but I feel like someone who failed to realize that you needed to check things, someone needs to be held accountable in some way or another. I don't know.
Well, the other thing is, I don't know how it works with the Japan's, transport safety board or whatever they call it, but the one in the US that operates like pretty much all around the world now.
Yeah.
They were the ones who do all the
I
shit for
forgot to-
air crash investigations and everything.
Yeah.
Whenever they find out what caused a crash, they're like, look, it was negligence. Someone botched this repair. It blew in the middle of flight, etc. It clearly leads back to Boeing. What they do is they write up this report, like a damning report that basically says Boeing fucked up, and then Boeing has to fix their shit like immediately, and whatever planes have similar issues are pulled off and basically reworked, or they have to basically pledge to fix any existing issues and stuff. There is immediate change.
When there was like they grounded all of those like specific type of plane recently or recently in the last 10 years after I remember they had like everyone stopped flying that plane because it had multiple similar issues in a short period of time.
Piece of shit that.
But Boeing, no criminal charges. So I'm glad I Googled that before I libeled Boeing. But before we wrap up today, there are 2 more things that I want to talk about. So the first one is conspiracy theories. So
Oh no.
as you two are probably, and listeners as well, you're probably aware that whenever something like large and dramatic happens, it's like a plane crash, people like to come up with various theories about what's happened, especially in the period between the crash and when you actually find out the details, right? So Japan, no exception. This is a thing for like people peddling the idea that it was shot down by a missile.
Okay.
Clearly not, but okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll probably be able to tell if it was shot down.
Yeah, you'd think so, right? I mean, like, maybe they're like, oh, well, this missile went directly for the tail, and that's why it became uncontrollable. Like, that's probably what they're talking about. And another fun conspiracy theory for you is that it was a JSDF, like Japanese self-defense force, and US military cover-up.
Of what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Some accident.
But like, wouldn't it be
training failure?
Wouldn't it be like exciting and horrible and unbelievable if it was the US military that was behind it?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, and the other thing is that it was a Boeing cover-up, which we've talked about before. It's like, oh, Boeing's taken the fall for this, for JAL, and it was actually JAL's fault. So I guess that would make it a JAL cover-up? I'm not sure. But yeah, so yeah, people did some wild mass guessing on that one, which is probably not helpful. And then we've got the Japanese press being horrible. So the press moved very quickly on this one. The first report of the plane going missing was 30 minutes after the crash. So I don't know how they found that out so quickly, but they did. And what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bad things that the press did in regards to this. So they, let's see. Oh, that's bad. Sorry, I'm just translating this as I go. I'm very prepared, as you can tell. So what happened was the media who turned up at the crash site, they were apparently just running around and like standing on like bodies and stuff and just being really, really disrespectful and getting in the way and stuff. So that's not good. Don't do that. Maybe don't do that while people are still being rescued and bodies are still being recovered. It's not good vibes.
So shitty.
It is horrible. And give me a second. So the media, they tried to go and like look at the crash site because they're butts, right? And so like, what do you know about like media people and like the great outdoors?
They're not good with it because it's difficult terrain and they have heavy cameras and shit.
Yeah, so they got lost.
Nice.
They got lost.
They got lost and they had to be rescued by helicopter.
Of course.
The Nagano police force helicopter saved them. Oh my god.
What a bunch
please.
of twats.
I know,
People.
that's the worst. Alright, give me a second to read the next one. See if this one erupts in laughter too.
I love your prep.
Listen, this is the last slide that I put together. 自己調査委員会現地拠点での信用者. Oh, okay. So, like, another thing that the media did was they interviewed the people at the investigation committee who were, like, near the site. They interviewed them until, like, late at night. And they were a bother to the investigation because they kept them up. 迷惑。いい迷惑だよ. They were just a bother. Ooh, what? No, they wouldn't do that. Surely. That's a bit much.
Don't call me Shirley.
Oh, no. Okay, so you know how they would do the autopsies on the people who passed away, right?
Yeah.
To determine what had happened. So
I wonder.
One journalist decided to go climb up the side of the gymnasium that was being used as, you know, presumably like a temporary morgue. He climbed up the side of the gymnasium to look in the window to take photos.
Of the autopsies?
Of the autopsies.
Wow.
Oh. Apparently they had to they had to cover the windows after that happened, and that made the inside of the gymnasium really, really hot. So they had to do autopsies in 40-degree heat.
Ow.
Not fun.
Yeah, so thanks, journalist.
Journalists gotta journalists.
And also, this is really bad. So, you know, like the survivors, they were in hospital, right? And so the media were like, oh, well, you know what would be what I could get a lot of money for is if I interviewed the survivors. And so they pretended to be friends and family of the survivors, or they pretended to be doctors.
Wow.
And they went inside the hospital, and that like this just kept happening. Yeah, and apparently they even made it into the ICU. It's like, oh my god,
these people are shit stains.
I know, like what
Just
the heck?
utter waste of blood and organs.
80s were a time for like reporters, weren't they?
Oh god, it's the worst. Imagine thinking any of this is normal or like appropriate. It's just. And also they did another very normal and appropriate thing, which is entering, like trespassing in the houses of their bereaved relatives.
Oh man.
To try and get...
It's a full cause, isn't it? Like everyone, like...
It's everything.
Yeah, like and everything that could have happened in some way.
Fucking gross.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have to do another episode sometime about like how the Japanese media is not good sometimes, actually. But yeah, so that's about all I have to say about the JAL flight. Except a couple of like tweeting, like postscript. So the local government in Gunma installed a stairway, so you can actually go visit the crash site up in the mountains, and they hold a memorial gathering there every August the 12th. And it was also this story, this horrible story, because it was so shocking, was adapted into at least 7 stage plays.
7.
For fuck's sake.
4 movies. 23 TV specials. 2 novels.
I mean, I think it's quite
and a
natural
manga.
For like, it's a way of processing. It's a way for the public to come to terms and to engage with this tragedy that has happened in the world.
Or it's a way to make money.
I mean, both. Why
Could be
not
both. You'll never know.
Like, I can't help it, like, because this is like the biggest plane thing. This is the
plane thing.
My brain doesn't work anymore. Listen, this is the biggest plane crash or incident that's happened in all of Japanese history. So, like, my brain immediately goes to compare it to, like, say, like 9/11 for like I mean, 9/11 I would say has more cultural impact in the US than this has in Japan. But like, with like the grief, I guess the scale of this is much smaller. Is the difference? And of course, like,
the other thing is with 9/11,
terrorism.
there's clearly people to blame
and killed.
Like, yes.
I mean, there are multiple people to blame with that one, but like, it's. I mean, like, just. I'm well, we're not going to get into that, but we're going to I feel like 9/11 has left a huge like cultural impact in a similar way to how JAL has. Maybe just 9/11 is just a little bit more. I'm not sure how many 9/11 stage plays there are or how many mangas there are, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I guess you're right, Aki. It's like people processing their feelings, their grief. They lost their singer, or alternatively, they lost a whole bunch of innocent people.
I still vote it's completely different, but okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is completely different, but like cultural impact, I'm talking. Yeah. One of the movies that they made was, it featured Watanabe Ken. It was called Shizumanu Taiyo, the sun that never sets. The sun that was not meant to set. Do you like my translation there? I thought it was pretty artistic.
No.
Okay. It was in 2009. It was based on one of the novels, and it was a semi-fictional account of the JAL internal disputes and politics, which I think they renamed JAL, of course, to like Japan Air or something, or like something. National Air or something. just take off the L.
No.
I wanted to watch it, but I didn't get to it. So if any of you who's listening right now, if any of you have watched this movie, Shizumana Taiyo, please report back and let me know if I should watch it, if it's any good. Closing thoughts.
Must I say something?
What have we learnt from today?
Not all that much.
Oh, I've learned that plain blood isn't called plain blood. They actually call it oil.
Do you call water earth sauce?
It sounds pretty good. I'd like some earth sauce. 70% of the world is made up of earth sauce. It's
You mean
in earth
covered?
sauce. Yes. Apologies. Thank you for correcting my earth sauce factor in.
Plain tragedies. I've not actually heard about this before, so I guess it's interesting to, if there's cultural impact to it, then it's probably been expressed in more invisible ways, because it's not something I hear very, oft talked about.
I mean, I guess the difference is that this was nearly 40 years ago, so maybe the cultural impact has waned. Perhaps, but at the time it was huge deal.
Yeah, it sounds like a huge deal.
Yeah. Really, what can we say but, get someone to double check when you think you've fixed something. Just get someone to, just run an eye over it, before you, weld it up or put putty in it so you can't see what you've done. Just double, triple check even, maybe.
Or put information on the internet. Some of the shit we've put out today, it needs double checking.
Listen, no, well, okay, you're not wrong, but here at Wakatta Furi, our promise to you is that we will get things wrong, because we are not experts. We are pretending to know things. That's a Gundam part. Plane's bad. Train's good. Take a train instead. If there's no train, kayak.
I hope
things that are technically true, but never practical. That's what you come here for. Yeah. Technically true thing. Technical true statements.
They're not always true, I'm going to be real honest. Listen,
technically always ambiguous whether they are true or not statements.
Technically sometimes true statements. And free life advice.
Wow.
Yeah. We wear many hats here.
Nice.
Yeah, so are we good to wrap up?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Stay safe, listeners. Go have a hot chocolate and cuddle your cat under a blanket or something. If you found today, acquire a cat and give scritches. Because it's been a bit of a heavy one. Yeah, have a great one. 今日聞いてくれてありがとね。
味噌ラーメン。
たこ焼き。
お好み焼き。Wow, that was really short.
It wasn't that short.
I'm very hungry.
It's the shortest we've made so far. Whoop, whoop.
Doesn't make it short, it just makes it less long.
Hey, we're getting somewhere.
We're learning. We're improving.
Yeah,
all right, okay, we're done. We're done. I'm going to press stop.
Congratulations.